There is a hidden battlefield we often overlook, a battlefield that decides the war before the first strike, before the first move, before the enemy even realizes conflict exists. It is the battlefield of perception. Sun Tzu knew that the greatest victories are not always won by strength, strategy, or speed, but by shaping how your opponent sees you. All warfare is based on deception. Sun Tzu. He wasn't talking about lies or trickery alone. He was describing something deeper, a principle of power used by kings, leaders, warriors, generals, and statesmen. Influence before engagement. If you can shape what the opponent believes, you can shape their choices. If you can influence their perception, you can influence their actions. And if you can control their actions, you can control the outcome. This principle applies to warfare, business, relationships, negotiations, competition, and life. This video will teach you how to shape perception before conflict begins, how to make the enemy fear you, misread you, or underestimate you, how to disarm opponents without fighting, how to maneuver using Sun Tzu's hidden strategies, how to become unpredictable, unreadable, and untouchable. Now let's go deeper into the ancient wisdom, because perception is not just part of the battle, it is the battle. Principle 1. Why perception decides victory before the fight. Sun Tzu reveals a universal truth. Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, meaning victory is engineered long before conflict. How? By shaping the mental battlefield. When a strong opponent sees you as weak, they relax. Their guard drops. When a weak opponent sees you as strong, they hesitate. Their morale trembles. When the enemy cannot read your intentions, they become paralyzed by doubt. Every decision they make becomes uncertain. Sun Tzu explains this psychological advantage. Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. The purpose is not manipulation, it is positioning. If the opponent is confused, emotional, reckless, or overly confident, they will step into traps with ease. Most people misunderstand this principle. They think Sun Tzu is teaching trickery. He isn't. He is teaching control. Because the battle you fight externally is nothing compared to the battle you create in the enemy's mind. Principle 2. The power of perception in warfare. Sun Tzu didn't focus on destroying armies. He focused on destroying their will. He didn't focus on the sword. He focused on the mind that wields it. He states, to subdue the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill. Why avoid fighting? Because combat is uncertain. Perception is not. If you shift the opponent's belief, you shift their behavior. Sun Tzu studied psychological warfare centuries before modern generals did. He understood that armies are not just groups of soldiers. They are systems of fear, morale, confidence, and decision-making. So he used perception to break their unity, confuse their scouts, mislead their rulers, cripple their confidence. He shaped the narrative of the war before it began. And once you control the narrative, you control everything. Principle 3. Influence is a weapon. Influence is not spoken, it is felt. Sun Tzu writes, if your opponent is of choleric temper, seek to irritate him. You shape perception by shaping emotion. If the enemy is confident, make them doubt. If they are fearful, make them panic. If they are cautious, make them careless. If they are predictable, make them blind. This is how you weaponize perception, not through direct confrontation, but through subtle manipulation of expectations. Influence is a strategy of silent dominance. No shouting, no arguing, no proof, just presence. Principle 4. The invisible strategy. Appear unreadable. Sun Tzu emphasizes the importance of mystery. When near, make the enemy believe you are far away. Be extremely mysterious, even to the point of soundlessness. Why? Because the human mind hates uncertainty. Uncertainty creates fear. Fear creates mistakes. Predictability is death. Ambiguity is power. When others cannot see your next move, they delay, they hesitate, they lose clarity. In strategy, hesitation is a death sentence. If they don't know whether you'll attack, withdraw, defend, or negotiate, you control the tempo. You control the battlefield, because the one who sets the rules controls the outcome. Principle 5. Manipulating the opponent's ego. Sun Tzu knew the ego is the enemy's greatest weakness. Every soldier, general, CEO, politician, and person has a blind spot. They want to be right. He teaches, hold out baits to entice the enemy. Give them something to chase. Give them something to desire. Make them think victory is easy. When they believe the win is at hand, they overextend. They reveal their intentions. They expose their weaknesses. And one move becomes possible. You strike where they least expect. Just like that. You haven't attacked with force. You use their ego against them. Principle 6. Influence through illusion. Sun Tzu speaks constantly of illusion. When able to attack, appear unable. Why is illusion so powerful? Because humans believe what they see, not what is real. So Sun Tzu crafted illusions to alter perception. Strength where there is none. Weakness where there is power. Movement that is actually stillness. Stillness that prepares the strike. The illusion becomes a weapon. Not because it fools the opponent, but because it makes him fool himself. Principle 7. Shaping the enemy's mindset. Perception can be shaped in 3 ways. What you show, what you hide, what you imply. Most people only understand the first, but Sun Tzu was a master of all 3. He writes, "He who is prudent and lies in wait for an enemy who is not, will be victorious." This doesn't just mean patience. It means shaping the battlefield so the enemy's caution becomes your advantage and their recklessness becomes your opportunity. Sun Tzu didn't wait for the right moment. He created it. Principle 8. Breaking the opponent from the inside. Weapons are limited, but perception is infinite. The greatest generals never fought armies. They fought morale. Sun Tzu teaches, if your opponent is secure, prepare for him. If he is superior in strength, evade him. If he is temperamental, irritate him. Each action targets the mind, not the body. Once the mind cracks, the body follows. Once their certainty collapses, their strength is meaningless. Once their unity fractures, victory is inevitable. Principle 9. Overconfidence, the enemy's poison. One of Sun Tzu's most devastating ideas. Disorder came from order, fear came from courage. Meaning, people fall when confident. They lose when they believe they cannot lose. By inflating the enemy's ego, you create their downfall. Give them a false sense of security. Give them easy victories. Soon they forget discipline. They forget caution. They forget strategy. And you strike at the moment they are most vulnerable, when they are convinced they cannot be defeated. Principle 10. Master the art of not fighting. Sun Tzu wanted you to win before the battle. So he wrote, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." This is the highest form of power. When you fight, you risk, you bleed, you expose. But when you influence, you win without loss. This principle applies in every arena: leadership, business, negotiation, relationships, personal development, self-defense. The goal is not to break the enemy physically. The goal is to break their belief in victory. And once you rewrite their perception, they will defeat themselves. Principle 11. Strategic silence and restraint. In the art of war, Sun Tzu stresses silence and invisibility. Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night. Most people rush. They announce. They react. They reveal their plans. Sun Tzu warns, this is the path to defeat. Because when the enemy knows your moves, They can block them. But if your intentions are hidden, your movement is unstoppable. Power lives in restraint. Discipline is a weapon. Silence is a shield. Principle 12. Control the information. Sun Tzu was centuries ahead of his time. He understood intelligence warfare. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. He didn't mean just knowing their army. He meant knowing their fears, their pride, their weaknesses, their psychology, their blind spots. Once you have information, you have control. And once you have control, the outcome is already written. Principle 13. The power of misdirection. Sun Tzu explains, attack him where he is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. Why? Because surprise breaks confidence. Perception is shaped by timing. Strike when they relax. Move when they pause. Advance when they are distracted. The battlefield isn't physical. It is psychological. You break their rhythm and you break their strength. Principle 14. Turn the enemy's perception into a prison. Sun Tzu believed perception can trap the opponent, not by surrounding them with armies, but by surrounding them with assumptions. You give them false patterns, false signals, false expectations. They adjust their strategy to these illusions, and suddenly, they walk into your territory. They abandon caution. They expose their flank. They are imprisoned by their own beliefs. Perception has become a cage. Principle 15. Shape your image. Carefully. Sun Tzu taught that how others see you determines how they act around you. So he focused on image, confidence without arrogance, strength without aggression, calmness under pressure, restraint under provocation. People follow the perception of a leader, not the truth about him. If you appear composed, people believe you are in control. If you appear prepared, people believe you are powerful. If you appear unbothered, people believe you cannot be defeated. The battle is already won. Principle 16. Become the unknown variable. Sun Tzu writes, when the enemy is relaxed, make them toil. In strategy, certainty is predictable. Predictability is dangerous. The greatest risk is being readable. So you move like water, flowing, adapting, unpredictable, shapeless. Water cannot be anticipated. This is how you become untouchable. Principle 17. The moment of psychological collapse. There is a moment every enemy faces in war, not when they lose, but when they realize they cannot win. This is the moment Sun Tzu targeted. Because once the opponent's belief collapses, they surrender, they flee, they negotiate, not due to force, but due to perception. You never destroyed the enemy. You destroyed their confidence. Principle 18. Neutralize threat by controlling narrative. Sun Tzu knew that the story you tell the enemy is just as important as the story you tell yourself. War is not just fought with steel. War is fought with narratives. We cannot win. They are too strong. We are isolated. We are surrounded. Sun Tzu used these narratives as weapons. He didn't have to weaken the army. He weakened belief, and belief is the foundation of victory. Principle 19. Psychological warfare in modern life. These concepts apply far beyond the battlefield. In business, in public speaking, in competition, in negotiation, in social conflict, in leadership. Modern warfare is fought through information, image, reputation, influence. He who controls perception controls the field. He who controls perception controls the outcome. He who controls perception never needs to fight. Principle 20. The final principle. Sun Tzu was clear about where victory begins. The clever combatant imposes his will on the enemy, not by force, not by violence, by perception. If you shape the enemy's expectations, you shape their decisions. If you shape their decisions, you shape their fate. And if you shape their fate, you win. before the first blow. Wars are not won on battlefields. They are won in the unseen places, in the mind, in strategy, in perception. The true warrior is not one who destroys enemies, but one who controls the invisible battlefield. Remember Sun Tzu's wisdom. All warfare is based on deception, not to trick others, but to guide the conflict, to influence the narrative, to bend reality, to win without fighting. Because the highest form of victory is the victory no one sees coming.